So I'd like to, as we are reorganizing the dais a bit, call up the panelists to the dais. Dr. Beatrice Hello is here, who is the Director of Research for the National CGIAR Resources Research Institute at the National Agricultural Research Organization in Uganda. Dr. Adafris Cherry, who is the Director of Crop Science at the Ethiopian Institute of Agricultural Research in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Dr. Swapandada, who is the Deputy Director General for Crop Sciences at the Indian Council of Agricultural Research in New Delhi, India. Dr. Yoma Kavedi, who is a Senior Program Officer specializing in cereals, and particularly dry-down cereals, at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Seattle, Washington. Dr. Bernard Hubert, who is the President of the Drop League in Montpellier, France. Dr. Francis Alchira, who is the Deputy Executive Director for the Association for Strengthening Agricultural Research in Eastern and Central Africa, ASARECA, based in Uganda. Dr. Jeff Ellers, who is the Senior Program Officer for Legumes, particularly grain legumes at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Seattle, Washington. Dr. Eric Wheat, who is the International Affairs Specialist at the Bureau of Food Security and USAID, Washington, D.C. Dr. Ndea Diop, who is the team leader for capacity building at the Generation Challenge Program based in Mexico City, Mexico. And last but not least, Dr. Eric Dankwa, who is the director of the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement based in Accra, Ghana. We've asked each of these to be part of this panel, but to make it actually happen, I've also requested Jürgen Hagman, who is with the PICO team in South Africa and is actually here this week facilitating the two workshops, to be the facilitator of this discussion. And so I now request him to take over and lead us through this discussion regarding the role that partnerships now play in the CRP on grain legumes and dry-down cereals. Very good.
Within the framework of the CGIAR reform, consortium research program, or as they have just heard now, CG programs. What's new? What is your perspective? What is different? What is supposed to be different? And what is the reality? Having heard the presentations of the panel before us, I think there are a number of issues which were raised. And I would like you to give the first round of perspectives on the programs, on the partnerships, what you have heard, and what you are actually seeing in reality. So I would like to start with the partners in the field. So I would maybe much more start from the Ethiopian National Agriculture Research Organization, and then from the SARI, and also from that platform.
Okay. I am Adolphus. I'm the Corporate Director of the Ethiopian Institute of Agriculture. First of all, I would like to thank for giving us the opportunity. Giving me the opportunity to express the feeling of how we are feeling with the new partnership.
opportunity to give us or express our feeling on the new type of partnership. And I would like to thank
the opportunity we are given, specifically in my country, the opportunity given from the CGIAR system,
the consortium and the consortium board and the various CGIAR centers. We are coming to the focal country, and for that I would like to appreciate, and also the donor representatives here who are giving also the support for strengthening our agriculture. Agriculture in Ethiopia is now a serious issue, and it has to be definitely aided by knowledge and information, so that the support we are seeing is very crucial. Actually, we have been benefited from our previous partnership with CGIAR centers. Most of our success are stemming from our partnership. We have been aided with many of the CGIAR centers, specifically some of the CGIAR centers that have been working on crop commodities like cement, and the others. And we have to acknowledge that our success, what has been recorded in the country, is the contribution through partnership. So we would like to appreciate it for the past. And now we also continue this. We want to continue this partnership, and the new has to be new in real sense. We have to start planning from the start with equal footing, from identifying our problems, our challenges, and also through the management of the project and the CRPs. These two CRPs are really very important for Ethiopia, and we'd like to be successful in implementing this program. Very successful. We are committed to reciprocate the focus you are giving to us, and but still we need to have a very strategic type of partnership. It's not only delivering on outputs, but also in the future really shifting towards this, enabling us to generate the technology about ourselves, and also, as it used to be called, not to give us the fish, but also to show us catching the fish. So the partnership we are pursuing in that direction. Thank you very much. And I think Dr. Dar's statement is also very encouraging. He says that we are committed for a new type of partnership, and we are also very much committed to reciprocate that willingness and the type of new partnership going on. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Beatrice, you are from Naro in Uganda.
Thank
If
you.
you could specify a bit more, what are you expecting from this new partnership? What exactly is it about?
Partnership in itself is not a new word to me, but I'm excited about this new partnership in a way, because I've been in research for a while, 20 years now, but the kind of partnerships that I am familiar with is where you have, say, IIT working on root crops with one research institute, and then tomorrow you have research come over with a grain legume, and then you have another. But this one is new in a way that we have all these CGIAR centers coming together, and then a wide range of partners all working on common crops. And for me, this is new. I've never sat in one room with so many partners and all at the initial phase of a project. So for me, I am thinking this is new in a way that from the start, we are talking about common crops and then common objectives, and then thinking and planning that we are going to share the expertise, we're going to share the resources, we're going to share many things. And for me, it's exciting. So this is what is new. So many people together thinking commonly and trying to achieve a common objective together.
With the countries. solution? What is new for you? What are you expecting? Where is it going? New partnerships.
Thank you. Good morning. I believe that the current CGIAR information definitely is expected to address the greater transparency of the partnership. It's not the NARS as partners need to be involved in designing the project and implementing the project together. I think that is my expectation. The biggest challenges and information that CGIAR today is going to make. And particularly the dryland cereals and grain legumes. Basically it is referred as the food for the poorer sections. And also it reflects the marginal lands where these crops are grown. At the same time, today's science, the century of the biology, the genomics era that we are living today, we must capture the new science. We must integrate with the new agricultural modern practices and combine together and implement them. And that needs a bigger partnership, bigger challenges, and sincerity to translate it into the end user's need. And it's not just writing CRP, it is not just making a documentation, it is something much more bigger than this. As India, a country, and Indian Council of Agriculture Research involved with, I would say, the more than 50% of the area of both these crops, or the group of crops that grows in India, produced in India. I believe that in this context, ICR and India as a whole can play a very important role, provided that partnership work together and work again sincerely with transparency and bringing new science integrated approach. Thank you.
Before I look at the international institutes and also CGIAR and universities, I would like to have the perspective from the donors, investors. What do you actually expect from the new partnerships, the difference in it? What is it? A number of things were raised, among others, culture change, etc. So it's not just about resources, but there are different things. So what are your expectations? Partnership for impact, what do you see? Jeff,
some of the things that we've talked about around the foundation, especially in the last couple months, has been this issue that was raised by the NARS partners that are here at the table, and that is including the NARS more in the design phase of the project, making it theirs. There's ownership issues, there's funding issues, and a lot of these issues, I think, can be addressed in the grain legume case, for example, in the next couple of days. That discussion can at least get started. And so I think the principle of having the NARS as more equal partners, as was expressed by the panel members here, is something that's very important to the foundation. So I guess I'm more or less seconding what was said already. Thanks.
There we go.
Yeah, from USAID's perspective, I think all of our efforts have really been focused on starting with the country-led process within Africa that has been, going through the CADIP and really taking the cues for our development objectives from the countries themselves. And I think that the CG research programs have really stepped up in terms of focusing that and partnering with the SROs. And as we said, this isn't something new, but it's something that has to be reinforced, and we're seeing that happen. I think one of the things we're trying to do within our support is looking across the different partners that we have, and seeing how we can manage across the different programs that we have. So we have our programs with U.S. universities, the what's formerly called the Collaborative Research Support Programs, which is now the Innovation Labs. And these are already strong partners, and we find that there are access to certain technologies or research that are very important to build into the programs here with the CGIAR research programs. What I think is important is to understand that we have different advantages, comparative advantages, if you will. And these don't have to be in competition. Often in the past you see competition on the research, but between different institutions, between the national research programs and the CGIAR. But really, if we understand our specific roles within these, I think there's more than enough to do. And the final point I would add on the partnerships is, we're really trying to ultimately have impact with farmers. And the partnerships that can be made with downstream development are really critical. I mean, we don't want to see a research scientist trying to get out and implement a development project, but they need to be thinking about that and making the connections with the professionals who do that sort of thing. And so that type of effective leadership, not just for the sake of having a partnership, but really looking towards what the ultimate goal is of the impacts of the research, I think is critical.
Thanks. Wilma, for the foundation, as far as I understand, what counts is the results. So even the support to research, support to these ones is a means to an end. How do you see the partnerships in that light? Particularly also looking, when we are talking about National Agriculture Research Institute to a large degree, we have very different levels of institutes. We have institutes which are bigger than the CG on their own, which are very professional, which are absolutely functional. We have institutes in Africa which I could say are not functioning very well. So how do you see partnerships in that way?
Thank you. I get reminded about partnerships. I don't know, some of you have been at the foundation, but there is a plan to the effect saying, walking alone, you won't go far. If you want to go further, you have to do it with others, something to that effect. So you get reminded about the importance of collaboration and partnerships. And it's a very important part embedded in the ethos of the foundation in terms of understanding that not one of us have the wherewithal to be able to make effective changes in the lives of the farmers, that you have to bring in different capabilities and different thinking into the partnership. The last couple of days I've been here and I've heard lots of times about partnerships. Definitely, I understand partnerships are a way of coming together for a common cause. And when I think about it, going forward, knowing what we know, we have lots of experience, technology generation, delivery, and all what it takes to make a difference in the farmers. We have had experience. We're not starting anew. Now we're putting all that experience together to make a change in the shortest time possible. So we cannot operate at the margins now. So whenever I think about partnerships, the things that come to my mind are empathy. The foundation has again a mantra where it says all lives have equal value. I think the people we work for have been reduced to statistics, in the sense that we hear about statistics, people living on less than $2 a day, below the poverty line and things like that. They are too far from us. So I think we have to internalize that and have that empathy to be able to say, we are part of the world. People are, are not living the kind of life that we want them to live, and what's our responsibility in that. So I think that's where it comes in terms of putting ourselves in that in their shoes. The other one is, in terms of partnership, is accountability. I think we all have the good in mind, and that has been over the last so many decades. The city centers have been operational in conjunction with the national programs. But one of the things that comes to the foundation is, how do we measure ourselves? What's the measure of our success, or how do we measure that we are on the right path to where we want to be? And how accurately to measure that? What are the measures for those? So it's very important that we internalize these things, and it has to be done on a regular basis. How we are moving the needle towards the direction where we want it to go, and that's an important part of the equation. And the other one is the continuous change, because one of the things that came clear in the last couple of days is, yes, we want to do this, and this is the plan that we want to do, but there's the but, because the but is always what we have been hearing about: capacity building, infrastructure, the extension system, there's a system. So in a way, we have an out as well. We want to do this, but this would prevent us from doing that. Great, I understand that. So the question is, what are we going to do about that? But after 5 years coming back and assessing our progress, I don't think we would like to hear that because of this we have been able to do that. Because, I mean, there are enough partners here to be able to effect changes in those weaknesses that we have, so that as we move forward, we think about not only product development, but the whole context in which product is developed and delivered and mechanical at the end of the day.
Yeah, actually in the workshop in the last 2 days that came up quite often. What are a way to deliver? You can develop products, push them down. That's what we have been doing for the last 40 years. But what's the mechanism actually to get impact? We often talk of NARS, and I've been working in so many NARS and almost all the CGs. Everything NARS, NARS, NARS. It assumes there is a system working in the country, which is called NARS. Now, I'm also working at university, specifically in Africa a lot. I would like to get the perspective of Terry. NARS, what do you think? Partnership.
Thank you. Let me first commend the CG Consortium for this bold initiative. I have heard a lot of things here which are encouraging, and I can only wait for 5 years when we review what has been done for 5 years, so we see what has been done. I share some of the sentiments of the earlier speaker. A number of things have to be considered seriously, especially looking at strategy moving forward. Because you move from region to region, you see that there are iniquities as regards agricultural development. And I would like to hope that before we move, we will have data which depends on foresight and needs assessment. Because when you look at NAS, of course, it is non-existent in a number of countries in, if you like, sub-Saharan Africa. You take Ghana. Ghana is a good example. Let me use my own country. You find institutions which take entrenched positions. They don't want to share what they have. And you find governments condoning with the World Bank to fund projects excluding institutions which could make impact in projects they have been excluded from. And I would like to see the CG Consortium thinking about this seriously, how to bring everyone on board. We often say our strength depends on the weakest link. How do we go forward? We are talking about, let me look at West Africa. About 280 million people, I would say about 50 million people are hungry all the time. And when you look at 50 million, it's like Ghana, Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, and maybe another country together. This is very serious. CG centers have been around IGRISAT since 1972. Am I right? Well, let me say I am aware of the work that IGRISAT has done because I had the privilege of serving on the Economic Management Review, the last one. What we find is that a number of things have been done, yet we find poverty, hunger all over the world. Because of what we find all over the world, it seems as if we haven't done anything. And for me, that is more important than what we have done. So how do we move forward? CG centers, please, we cannot fix the problems alone. Governments in Africa, when I get platforms, I say we have failed. How are we engaging governments and how are we engaging the NAS in the countries? I believe the partnership should be stronger. What we hear on the platform is encouraging, but I want to see more action than words. Universities have an important role to play in the development of Africa. Of course, universities have led development in a number of countries all over the world. You can take Europe, you can take the US. Go to universities in Africa, capacity, postgraduate training. I don't know what word to use to describe postgraduate training. Thanks to some philanthropists, there is now new investments in postgraduate training. But should we leave postgraduate training to foundations? No. Governments in Africa, CD Consortium, can we make, of course, a number of people are proud of the postdocs they did at peak city centers a number of years ago. It appears that is being eroded. I don't understand why. I think we have to think seriously how we link investors to these programs which are coming up, because if we fail to do that, I'm afraid that in 10, 15 years' time, we'll be singing the same song. We need to work together. Partnerships are very important. And for me, over the past 2 days, I've learned a lot. And I believe in CG centers. That's why I would come to a place like this. Nonetheless, I think there is a lot of talking that we have to do. From inception, we have to work together, plan together, fix problems together, because we should know that alone we can do nothing, but together we can move to a higher level.
Francis, as Eureka has the last 6 years had integrated agriculture research for development on their banners, you've reformed, you have programs which are really made to bring partners together, which are opening up, so there's a lot of experience. And also you have a different mode of engaging with CJ partners in East Africa. So can you give us a bit perspective on partnership, new partnership within these research programs? What are you expecting and what are you bringing to the table in terms of experience?
Thank you. I think I basically share the sentiments of my previous speakers. First and foremost, I think I'm delighted, first of all, to be here in IGRISAT. I think because this is the first experience I'm having, seeing such a big gathering of people from different parts of this world. Of course, all of them driven by the same desire to ensure that we actually contribute and make a significant change in the livelihoods of people who are suffering from hunger and poverty. Now, I would say that I think I represent what we call a sub-regional organization, and what has happened is that the National Agricultural Research and Extension Systems in Africa have actually come together and created associations whose main purpose is actually to draw collective action so as to address the challenges facing agricultural practitioners out in the field. And the main purpose of doing this is, of course, to strategize together, to, of course, prioritize together, and ensure that we identify common challenges and seek common approaches to resolving those challenges. And I'm happy that IGRISAT, of course, has been actually partnering with SROs. This is not the first time that we have worked with IGRISAT. Indeed, we have worked with IGRISAT, especially in the East African region. And My perspective on this is that I wish to see this partnership growing in strength, because I believe that we can only synergize each other. I see the CRPs growing from the extensive networks of these sub-regional organizations, because we do have very extensive networks. For example, the association that I belong to is serving 11 African countries, in continental Africa as well as Madagascar. And what we're trying to do is to strengthen those national agricultural research and extension systems, so that then they can be also able to partner with the CRPs, because they will be strengthened. They will be having something to put on the table in terms of their strengthened human resource capacity, so that then in turn they can be effective partners of the CRPs. Now, for example, in our region we are talking about 300 million people and about 300 million hectares of land committed to agriculture. That's significant. And a significant proportion of that land apparently is also arid or semi-arid. Consequently, we see ICRISAT and its interventions playing a significant role in terms of addressing the challenges that those poor farmers actually face. As we move forward, I believe that we need to see ourselves as partners, essentially synergizing each other and not competing. And I believe that together we can make it. We can be able to resolve some of the challenges that are besetting our region. As you're all aware, through the CARIP program, particularly Pillar 4, we are all expected to actually contribute to agricultural research for development purposes. And the African continent has targeted a 6% growth rate on an annual basis in agriculture. That's not easy, really at all. And therefore I do challenge ICRISAT as well as all the partners who are here with us, that together let us work and realize that growth rate, so that then we can move people away from poverty and also from food insecurity.
Okay, I think there's a lot of experiences around that. Now, the last 10 years we increasingly talk about the role of so-called advanced research institutes. And there's always the issue where there's a boundary, there's a role for that one, then CGIAR, etc. It seems there's a grading. What I can see, and I was fascinated by Frank's presentation when he talked about the speed of development. I've been working a lot in ministries across mainly Africa, in research organizations, and a lot in knowledge management. One of the big problems I see is an incredibly high speed gap. Not the yield gap, but the speed gap. The speed of learning, the speed of new technologies, one height like that on one side, and the other side, many public sector organizations remains literally the same. So, what's going to happen? And I would like to have your perspective from our vocalist for now. What do you think about these partnerships, the speed of technology? How do we get this together?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to sit with you today. What I can say also, when we look at the essays, CGIAR essays, as Frank recalled us, it was so huge challenges at a so global level that I think we have all to put together. That's clear for us. And these areas, CGIAR, NARS, and that's it. And it's probably also, as I'm talking on behalf of the French Research Organization, the Pro Research Organization, and especially CGIAR and IRD. Definitely, we're happy and we enjoy to collaborate with the CGIAR on this kind of targets, but also we're very close relationship with a lot of NARS since a long time, and especially with new joint research units we have with NARS in mainly Western Africa. And because it's, as we try to say, I think there is a huge capacity building challenge in this area. And this can be done all together with the CGIAR and ARIS and the NARS and through the close links and collaboration we can help build. And when I mean city building, I think it's not only at the individual level. It's not only for more PhD or more postdoc or things like that. It's also to build teams and staff and to have permanent and long-term partners, engineers. And I think it's methodologically useful because we have to go all together as clear. But it's also, I think, important to have a diversity of school of thoughts, a diversity of cultures in research, and especially when we're dealing with issues like food, or like environment, or like natural resources. I think it's very important to build a diversity of school of thoughts. And we need to work from the Western point of view, Southern point of view, and Latin America, and Africa, and Asia. Because such challenges like food, natural resources, doesn't mean exactly the same thing for all of us. And if we want really to trigger this goals, I think we need this diversity. And first of all, we need to help building a long-term and lasting this diversity. And I think it's one of the things we have to do together. And I can only talk as a French representative of the French Research Organization. We are really committed to do that. And if I can add a second more personal point, it's also, from my perspective, an answer that you asked me. I'm also supposed to be part of the steering committee of the Dryland System, CR, and accepted willingly to be in post-CRP, because I think there is really something to be built between cereal, or it's the same with grain leaves. I think it's the same, and the more systemic approach. And in both senses. So that means also to address genetic or fundamental research from what happens in the field, and how things in the field are linked. And probably grain legumes and cereals and livestock are linked at the farm level. And this would especially could help addressing upstream research. And the other sense is also very important to have this way and back with the real world at the farm level, according also to know-how, to the needs, to uncertainties, to how farmers are dealing with risk or things like that. And I think for me, it's also a way to build a clear appropriation of technology, which is not the transfer of technology, but also how people deal with technology, what is used, in regard of what is important for the farmers level. Uncertainties from climate, uncertainties from economics, from prices, all that kind of things, from relationship with merchants or trade, all that kind of things. We have also to build, that means to close this gap. I think the systemic approach and linking upstream research and system level could really help to bridge the gap and to build something in between. That's the first level of answer.
Dave, you have been in the Generation Challenge program. It was also set up for building capacity, partnerships, etc. within CG. Now, what is your experience?
Thank you. Sharing the experience of GCP, I would say that I believe something that partners has enjoyed, and probably I'm hoping that GCP will be able to share that experience with how are we supposed to say again if we're not saying CRP? Sorry, I forgot. But anyway, let's talk about CRP. GCP would like to be able to share its experience with the CRP on partnership, because I think over the years, what we were able to develop, it was to have people from CG system, from the RIs, and also from the NORS, to be able to partner in a partnership that was, let's say, more sort of equal partnership. And even over the years, we have seen that the project of GCP was not led only by the CG centers, but was led also by RIs, as well as they were led by NORS. Even though those NORS was big NORS, we're talking about Embrapa, we're talking about ICA, we're talking about CAS, but still, being able to bring those big NORS into the system and letting them lead this project, I think maybe is something that GCP can share with the CRP. Of course, GCP research is more focused on the delivery of product research. We didn't go all the way to the farmers, to processors. That means we do not have that experience to partner between upstream research and farmer. But still, and maybe what we have achieved could help, I hope, just going forward into this new way of partnership, and also into this new program that is started.
Now, what I saw the last few days, and what we have mainly been talking about here as well, are very much research-driven partnerships. At the same time, I think what matters for investors is impact, and what matters for CGIAR in the meantime as well is impact. Now my question, are research-driven partnerships a way which can really deliver that impact? What do you think? Can we do it that way? Where is the private sector? Where are other partnerships driven by others, where you insert yourself? And I remember when the reform started, one of the fundamental issues was research inserting itself into the development process. Now, are we missing that component again? Because I still hear a lot, okay, researchers, yeah, there's CG, the Advanced Research Institute, and there's NARS, de facto NARI. I'm not sure. What do you think? Where are we? And how do we get this a bit further? Who would like to respond? Yes, Jeff.
So at the foundation, we've been thinking along the same lines, and actually have, in the last year, organized ourselves not only on R&D, access and markets and policy integrated chains, but also across these units, so that we have integrated value chains for different commodities or groups of commodities. And then we position our investments against that value chain. So it operates from the basic R&D all the way down to seed delivery and actual impact with the farmers. So I guess a way that the CRP could do the same sort of thing would be to partner with, in a very deliberate way, partner with delivery partners that are on the ground. And I know some of this is included, but just be sure that comes out in the planning process and that gets included. So therefore you will have the sort of the full chain covered from your high-end R&D down to the farming.
Thank you. I think I'd like to refer morning presentation of Frank Rich Berman. I think in his presentation it was very clearly highlighted the different science components that this particular crops groups that could do it. Simply to refer it like that water, nitrogen, and phosphorus use efficient crops. With the reduction of the gap of potential yield to the actual yield in the farmer's field, These all can be addressed in science. And today, one after another, the crops, genome sequencing are coming up. We can underline the genetic map of those crops. We can highlight the nutrition component, that what are the nutritions that rich or the elements or the genes that driving that nutrition are present in certain chromosomes or certain plants. How we can use those high nutrition components into the crops while it is lacking. All of these things are science driven, and today those sort of scientific works are coming up also from CGIAR. As last 2 years, 2 Nature Biotech paper came from ACRISAR that highlights the genome sequencing of pigeon pea and chickpea. And there are several from ED, fantastic publications are coming out. All the city centers, and in recent times I could see there are good publications coming out. And that's giving the hope of the new science that is coming out. Now, how to translate those science into the real scenario of the crop improvement? I think one of the, again, I refer back to Frank's presentation. He mentioned one of the slides of the nutrition. Malnutrition is a serious problem. And one of the slides that highlighting all the nutrition component of the crops available to us. One, of course, definitely dry cereals and grain legumes are high in nutrition, but across the country is probably not everywhere there as main resource of food. But in combination with some rice and wheat, that would be an excellent combination that Mahmoud Shaw mentioned in his presentation. Now the rice, if I take an example of rice as a staple food, it does not have iron. And in his presentation also, he only mentioned our zinc. Now the iron needs to be improved in rice. It's just an example, not necessarily that I'm referring to a particular crop. Now, science is today available. Many advanced institutions, the functional genomics people, nutritional genomics people working across the world, I think we need to connect with those advanced laboratories. Not necessarily has to be advanced or the developed country, it can be also in developing countries, can be also as a networking, like a very successful Rockefeller biotechnology network that has worked out for 10 years very successfully. Similar thing like GCP, Generation Challenge Program, that brought a lot of new science and brought many new dimensions in our crop improvement. I think those connectivity need to be seen actively working in the program so that the science, what we do today, the result of that science might come after 10, 15, 20 years. But if we do not put that seed today, in 10, 15, 20 years later, I think we'd be in big troubles. And that, to avoid the troubles for the future of 20, 30 years from now, the benefit what we are getting today, high production in many countries, including India, it is the 10, 15, 20 years earlier, but the policy was taken, the science was taken, the genetic resources are being utilized, and today we are getting the benefit. So science, the basic science and application of that science in a network manner need to be strengthened, and so that we can continue the plant breeding and implementation of that resources at the center new science that could be complementary across the time we move ahead. I think there's a very, very important component need to be seen and how we can capture them into the system. Thank you.